Good morning again. Very excited and excited you are there with us and some lovely guest already. योगेश आ चुके हैं हमारे स्टूडियो में. मैंने अपना ताज अभी तक पहना हुआ है और अब ये इनविजिबल ताज और हमारा रात जो है वो 11 o'clock तक जारी रहेगा on Talk Breakfast on Talk 100.3.
Because this hour is Talk Markets thanks to Century Financial Investment Consultancy Research और योगेश खैरजानी from Century Financial हमारे साथ फिर से स्टूडियो में है एंड रियली लुकिंग फॉरवर्ड फॉर द कॉन्वर्सेशन. अगर आपको कोई भी सवाल पूछने हैं अबाउट फाइनेंस, अबाउट इन्वेस्टमेंट, अबाउट सेविंग्स, अबाउट क्रिप्टोज, अबाउट स्टॉक, शेयर्स, इक्विटीज, कुछ भी पूछना है, यू कैन सेंड अस अ व्हाट्सएप 0586861003 या फिर आप हमें फोन कर सकते हैं ऑन 0458170880. सुन रहे आप टॉक मार्केट्स ऑन टॉक 100.3.
This is Talk Breakfast with Vivek Sunil and Sobia Khan on Talk 100.3.
योगेश, a very good morning to you and I hope कि आपने भी डॉक्टर फजीला को थोड़ा बहुत सुना हो. आप भी अपने सर पे ताज पहन लीजिए.
Good morning to all of you, and I think that's the takeaway from the day. Need to have my imaginary crown on my head and just make sure that my knees are parallel to the hip, have the right posture.
आप बहुत अच्छे लिसनर भी हैं और बहुत अच्छे एडवाइजर भी. वी हैव टू टेल यू दैट वैसे वो क्राउन तो हम आपको ऑलरेडी दे चुके हैं बिकॉज सेंचुरी फाइनेंशियल जो टॉक मार्केट्स लेकर आते हैं, विजय आए, योगेश आए, बहुत ज़्यादा हमें ज्ञान से गेन में कन्वर्ट करने की ट्रिक सिखाए एंड इट कंटिन्यूज टुडे एज वेल.
I think definitely it's more of a privilege rather than us giving gyan. I think a lot of listeners have actually supported, and you guys have supported, given me a chance and Vijay a chance to come here and just spread more and more awareness. I think that's most important. Times like this, people really are in the blind because so much is happening. They really want to know what's going on in the markets. I mean, forget about investment opportunities or not. At least just to decode the basic sense of information, all this data which is getting into the market, I think it is needed, and I think it's one of the best platforms to convey.
Complication, confusions जितनी कम हो ये अच्छी बात है, and the credit of course goes to Century Financials जो ये घंटा लेकर आते हैं आपके लिए. That's called Talk Markets on Talk Breakfast.
एंड वीव बीन गेटिंग मैसेजेस एज वेल ऑलरेडी. सब वेलकम कर रहे हैं योगेश को. भास्कर का मैसेज आया, हिस्सा पे ड्राइव कर रहे हैं, वीडियो भी भेजा, कहा कि आई एम लुकिंग फॉरवर्ड फॉर दिस चैट. ऑल्सो गॉट अ मैसेज फ्रॉम नजीम कह रहे हैं कि गुड मॉर्निंग योगेश, इट इज लवली टू हैव यू बैक ऑन द शो. सो यू पॉपुलर एज वेल नाउ.
I think listeners are just kind enough to listen to me throughout 1 hour. My father wouldn't, but they do, so it's amazing.
Well, your father might have the same sentiments from your side कि बेटा सुनता नहीं.
I think that's what every father and son relationship, right?
So what are we going to cover today? आज Century Financial Hour में.
So I think the very point of having this conversation is a lot has happened in last 2 days. We have seen Chinese stock markets falling down, and a lot of tech stocks from China have fallen down. And there have been a couple of reasons behind it. The Chinese regulators, we have seen that they have all those tech companies, they have started putting more and more regulations on the likes of Alibaba, just for having a market dominance. They were they have seen that a lot of these companies, they have kind of monopolies.
जैक मा मिला कि नहीं मिला? अभी तक तो गोली है, गाय भी है वो.
I think now things are much more bigger than that. So they are looking at companies like Alibaba who have kind of misused their dominance. Or if you see, they have also, I mean, this is quite revolutionary because now the Chinese regulators, they are saying that all these education centers, the private tuitions and all these private education centers in China, they will operate as non-profits.
Achha.
That has put so many
pressure, no?
Yeah, because it's a $100 billion industry in China.
Achha.
And a lot of these stocks like TAL Education, etc., it has come down from $20-30 to all the way to $4 or $5.
Or Chinese investors in Indian education apps as well. Probably
Either
वहाँ
way,
पे भी effects हो सकते हैं.
So basically, any Chinese education company or online education company which belongs to China, even listed in US stock markets, will have that kind of impact once it is converted into non-profit. So that has brought Chinese tech sector down a lot, and the impact is seen in the investors' portfolio because US market also, we have seen this is the earnings season going on, and a lot of tech stocks are coming up with like brilliant earnings. If you see yesterday, Apple, Microsoft, all these stocks, even Tesla has come up like with good earnings.
Achhe profits, $1 billion or something, I think,
Exactly.
quarter mein, yeah.
Apple has shown double-digit growth in every sector. But then we have seen stock going down. Now the basic question is why with great earnings even the stock is down, because last time when I came I said that you see three things. You see the earning per share, you see the revenue, and you see what's the forward outlook the next quarter.
Okay.
And Apple has shown great results, but their forward outlook for the next quarter, they're expecting a decline in revenue, a decline in sales, given the fact that there is a possibility this whole the exchange rate might affect. There is a lot of uncertainty regarding the Delta variant.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that has such a big impact on so much of economies around the world.
Exactly.
But of course, there is a lot of big events that are coming up. Expo ho gaya, T20 World Cup ho gaya,
Correct.
and when you have these kind of events and you have the government support as well, so sentiments of course upar jate hai, right?
I think that is really important. So there are two school of thoughts right now, and one of the analysts on the side, many analysts believe that with the vaccine rollout and with things getting back to normal, eventually now the economy is at a pre-pandemic phase, positive phase, which kind of brings this positive momentum. And then on the other side, there is a different school of thought. Many analysts believes that right now the earnings which are being displayed, the comparison is done to the same quarter but last year.
Okay.
There was a lockdown last year, same quarter. So obviously the results which we see now, and if we compare to last year, it's much better for everyone. I mean, companies like Alphabet, they have shown really good numbers, but still most of the earnings are compared to the same quarter last year.
Yeah, chahe wo property ho, chahe wo koi bhi sector
Exactly. So in the coming quarter, we might see again, if the Delta variant doesn't get solved and if it goes worse, then we might see decline in the revenue. And a lot of people, a lot of investors right now, they're trying to book profits given the Fed meeting. Again, today's FOMC meeting. So again, that was one of the most important things.
Kuch aaya usme?
I think it is going to be in the evening, the press conference.
Oh, okay.
But I think the language is expected to be the same. The tapering is way off. Inflation is transitory. I think something which they have already said.
Correct.
I think the next meeting, which will be at Jackson Symposium, is of much more key importance. I mean, that's where Jerome Powell will come up with some solid facts. But right now, any kind of dovish remarks, I think
wouldn't be right, because we will wait for the meeting. Or ye every week hota hai, does this happen, and the regulations and ye sari cheeze jo hai?
So Fed meeting specifically happens around 8 times in a year.
8 times a year. So this is important.
It's important because this is for the listeners, basically how to decode it. When you're listening to a Fed press conference, they have an interest rate decision, which in summers is around 9:45 p.m. Dubai time. 10 p.m. Dubai time, and then 10:30 there's a press conference.
Okay.
In winters, due to daylight savings, the time changes. Important part is the press conference, and not when it starts, when it ends.
Acha.
So you look at the press conference, hear it, because a lot of noise is there during the press conference, and after the press conference ends, the market settles and it interprets what the chairperson is supposed to say. So for the listeners and even for day traders, should definitely wait till the press conference is over. Don't get stuck between the volatility.
Pehle hi aap decisions na
because
lo.
everything gets moved. If the meeting comes up with a if it's interpreted in a way where it is very aggressive, or if it is too hawkish, then you will see gold prices moving, you will see dollar moving, you will see stock prices moving. Everything get impacted when Federal Reserve or the chairperson speaks. So definitely people have to see it. Even if you're expecting the same language, I think everybody should at least have a look at the press conference before anything else.
And how exciting is this time for, people like yourself, like financial advisors? Is it more tense time when you have to advise, or is it exciting time because you can encourage the investors? Where do you stand as a financial advisor?
Definitely butterflies in the stomach because a lot of projections and estimations are being done, and it is always, I still remember the time when Mario Draghi, the European Central Bank president, he used to come up every time on the stage before ECB talked about asset purchase program, and they kept delaying it for the longest time, and every time we used to see, okay, oh, go ahead now, do it, and he wouldn't do.
Okay.
And then we'll see euro prices fluctuating. So nothing changes, still the same. 10 years in the industry, it's still butterflies in the stomach when FOMC comes in. So the place will be buzzing. I'm sure all the consultants, it's a late night event. And when I say late night, basically 10:30 p.m. In the summer's time. So I think everybody's looking forward to the press conference. The consultants are. Yeah.
Superb.
And people who are listening to us, they can also ask if there's any question in your mind on 05-8686-1003. You can also call us on 04-581-7080.
And coming up कुछ ही पल में we will make you hear about the sports update, क्या हो रहा है स्पोर्ट्स की दुनिया में. बट सवाल जैसे आपके पास कोई भी है, you can send us a WhatsApp 0586861003. सुन रहे आप टॉक मार्केट्स ऑन टॉक 100.3.
And Sobia Khan on Talk 100.3.
Welcome back after the break, continuing with Talk Markets, brought to you by Century Financial in Talk Breakfast. और डॉक्टर फजीला पिछले घंटे में थी, मैसेजेस अभी भी उनकी अप्रिशिएट करते हुए आ रहे हैं हमें. थैंक यू सो मच फॉर दैट. ऑफ कोर्स योगेश खैरजानी फ्रॉम सेंचुरी फाइनेंशियल इस वक्त हमारे साथ हैं. आपके सवालात हमारे साथ नहीं हैं, और अगर कुछ जहन में है तो हमें ज़रूर बताइए. सेंड इट टू अस थ्रू व्हाट्सएप ऑन 0586861003, और यू कैन कॉल अस ऑन 04-581-7080.
So got a message from Abhay. कहते हैं कि what is the outlook for gold this month after the FOMC, and are we seeing an uptrend in oil as well?
So again, very common and very good question, because a lot of people want to know about gold prices. Rising inflation led investors and a lot of investors to believe that it's time for Fed to start, tapering of quantitative easing. To put in simple words, just reduce the amount of cash which is being injected into the economy. Fed has been kind of very vocal about that their next rate hike will be in 2023. They might hike it for 2 times.
अच्छा, अभी नहीं करेंगे.
I think 2023 is when 2 times the rate hike has to happen, but it is still sooner than expected. Later on, they again said that inflation is transitory, and it was like the tapering is still way off, and as long
तो
as
एक assurance kind of thing मिल गया सबको कि
yeah, I mean the tone was more very dovish, thinking that there is not much
Nothing
more
going on,
excitement. But
yeah.
yeah, the next rate hike is 2023. So from a long-term perspective, gold prices on a long term should be bearish, should be on the downside. But that being said, as I said, another school of thought where the Delta variant and still some sort of uncertainty about Fed being extremely dovish that when the tapering has to start.
Okay.
So after today's press conference, if the tone is still the same and there is no any further updates, prices might continue to go higher because gold has kind of crossed 1800 level, which is a very strong resistance. If it remains above $1,800 and passes 1810 or 1815, then we might see a upside potential. But if it again comes down below 1800, then again a bearish stand. So these are some key levels which as an investor you need to understand, and look for the FOMC press conference tonight.
So अभय, आपको ये सवाल का जवाब मिला होगा. दूसरा सवाल ये है कि are we seeing an uptrend in oil as well?
So oil has been something, and I'll tell you this, a lot of analysts, they expected oil prices to go to 70 by the end of 2021.
Okay.
Which was kind of achieved in the first 3-4 months itself.
Because of the production levels and
Exactly.
everything.
In February, they were announced that the production cuts will happen. Now, again, same idea. In spite of the possibility of a Delta variant, there is a possibility that supply constraints might come across. And reduced supply will definitely be supportive for oil prices. And there is a reason that why we have seen that oil prices continue to be above 70, 72.
बराबर.
So I think even coming forward, that even if the demand is less, but the undersupply is something which might keep oil prices supportive and floating above 70s.
अच्छा, तो मतलब ऐसा कुछ एक्साइटमेंट नहीं होने वाला है कहीं पे भी ऐसा थोड़ा कि अच्छा ये ऊपर ये वो नीचे एंड थिंग्स लाइक
होने बहुत कुछ वाला है, but I cannot be very
so that's what you like कि योगेश कुछ बोलो यार.
You're looking for masala. I don't have masala, but I definitely have a range bound outlook. I think oil prices have got a good support given the shortage of supplies. As far as gold is concerned, look for the key levels, look for FOMC.
Okay.
If it breaks above 1810, I think a potential upside. But if it is still below 1800, then we might see gold flirting around with the levels around 1760 to 1800. So
And I think a big impact जब भी government का होता है, stronghold होता है, and their decisions and their facilities that they offer. I was reading जब आज business news कर रहे थे, there were so many things, कि हम e-commerce से quick commerce की तरफ जा रहे हैं, deliveries जो है under 2 hours, talking about, proper deliveries like restaurants and shops and वो सारी चीजें. Food delivery is a big part of it. And then you have these mortgage which is happening जहाँ पे 40% of the sale transactions in Dubai were completed with a mortgage. So when you find these facilities which are being offered by the government, how much impact does it have for everyone living in here?
So definitely we need a kind of system which continues to support and promote the economic activities. Banks need to ease down on lending. I think something which promotes businesses.
Which happened,
which is really good. I think it gives a lot of strength and support to the businesses. So that being said, all these facilities, even provided by any government, it is like a feather in the cap. It should really, the idea for every economy should be to promote their small businesses because they are the first ones to suffer, the SMEs. And if they get a lot of strength and support, I think nothing like it.
Nothing like it. So coming back to gold, I think, कि what factors जो है, they affect the price of gold?
So this has been one of the most common questions. The very popular thing is the inverse relationship between gold and dollar. Now, gold and dollar is something which we always see that when dollar gets stronger, gold prices get weaker and vice versa. But this is the inverse correlationship which everybody believes in. Last few years, we have seen this correlation doesn't work out very well. But if we were to theoretically point it out, the dollar valuation is important. So whatever happens to dollar, it does affects the price of gold. Positively or negatively, it depends on the correlation at the moment. Second thing, Fed meetings, because Fed meetings directly impact US dollar. Something which is related to global uncertainties, like right now the rise in prices. If you were to relate the current rise in price of gold with the stock market uncertainty, followed by Fed uncertainty, followed by Delta variant uncertainty, yes, I mean prices seem to be going in a forward up direction. So that is something which is expected. So from pandemic to stock market crashes to dollar valuations to Fed meetings, everything around you, it impacts gold prices.
Gold. And the best time you think to buy gold?
I think
शादी के season.
Depends, but yeah, whenever there are dips, I think definitely like even recent dip when it went down to 1780, 1760. I think whenever there's a dip, you should have some gold in your portfolio, and I think it is good time to diversify into commodities.
Okay.
Reason being that a lot of investors now, they are booking profits in a lot of stocks because same thing because of uncertainty what's going to happen with the Delta variant. A lot of investors now, and they know that the next quarter earnings will be different from this quarter because this quarter was compared to the last quarter in last year same quarter.
Correct. So there will be a difference. Yes.
So companies like Apple already said that they are expecting a lower revenue due to a lot of things, and there are a lot of companies which may not show the same earnings in the next quarter that which will be priced in, and we don't know in the next 3 months how the Delta variant will work out. So all these things, it is kind of keeping investors sit on cash, book their profits, or at least diversify into commodities that if something uncertain happens, at least commodity prices might shoot up. And if you're not comfortable trading in gold or investing into commodities, you can look into gold based ETFs or gold mining companies or something like that. Just to get an exposure in the commodities.
Superb. I think we will move on to traffic update and we will take your questions as well. अगर आपके पास कोई भी सवाल है regarding gold investment, कब खरीदना चाहिए, कब बेचना चाहिए, या anything you want to know about it, 0586861003 या फिर हमें फोन कर सकते हैं 0458170880. आप सुन रहे हैं टॉक मार्केट्स ऑन टॉक 100.3.
61003. You can also call us on 0458170880.
इनफैक्ट आपने कहा सोबिया कि मैसेज करो, सवाल पूछो. वीरेंद्र ने फटाफट मैसेज कर दिया, कहा कि कैन वी इन्वेस्ट इन गोल्ड इन करंट प्राइसेस. ऐसे वीरेंद्र सवाल पूछ रहे हैं योगेश से.
So go for it. I think if there will be no good or bad time, but please make sure that you're not looking for short-term gains or speculative gains. Do it as an investment and try to do this exposure mostly through ETFs, so your risk is a little less. Because direct commodity risk can be too much, because it will react to everything what happens in the world, whether it is FOMC meetings or anything. So definitely from an investment point of view, I would always tell you that go for it, because this is something which can be in your portfolio over a longer period of time, and ETFs have worked out in the past. Go for gold mining companies, but look it from a longer point of investment. Don't look for speculation, because speculation can go anywhere.
Yeah, and जैसे वॉरेन बफे ने भी यही कहा था ना, that you have to start. That is the first and most important thing, to start.
Exactly.
And जैसे आपने कहा कि ETFs is one way to buy gold.
Yes.
And there are other ways
gold
as well.
mining companies also which you can look into. See, anything which reduces your risk. At the end of the day, you choose for yourself. You can be a cautious investor, can be balanced, or can be very adventurous on your portfolio. That really depends on your risk appetite. So I would still suggest that talk to a risk consultant or a financial consultant. A very layman thing what I would do is take a piece of paper and start writing that how much is my income, how much I save, what are how many dependents I have in my family, and what is my future cash flow. Am I expecting a big trip, or am I expecting a bigger expense? How is my health? When I will retire? And then try to keep an emergency fund, as Vijay has stated a lot of times, that I think around 25 times more you need to have your emergency fund.
लेकिन आप अपने पेपर पे शादी लिखना भूल गए.
Yeah, I think that is one of the biggest expenses you might face.
But for a rainy day, you're saying कि जब भी हम pandemic के दौरान या कहीं पे, we have noticed that.
So it really helps you to identify your risk appetite. Once you know that, you would know, am I a speculator or am I a long-term investor? Because sometimes what happens, we just see other people taking risk. And we put into our mind that, maybe it's not bad to speculate. But then it's their risk, it's not your own. So you have to calculate your own and find yourself whether you are a conservative investor or an adventurous investor. So that is something which you need to talk to yourself and introspect, and talk to a financial consultant. I mean, we can definitely
That's the best way, yeah. And is gold better investment than silver?
So silver is an industrial metal. Over the past, we have seen silver prices following gold prices. Even now also you will see, because these both are precious metals, the occurrence of there is very rare. You will see gold and silver prices going in the same direction, unless something like what we saw in pandemic, when there was a lot of uncertainty. So gold prices went up, but silver being an industrial metal, and there was a global shutdown, so silver prices went down.
Correct.
Which gave rise to an incredibly high gold-silver ratio.
And when people bought silver at that time was smart.
Yes, because then silver started moving. So it was one of those things, right? If the economy recovers, and if the industry starts recovering and the lockdown removes, then we'll see silver prices also going higher.
Yeah, which is always a bullish approach, right?
Yeah, I mean, so you have to see, as of now, given the uncertainty, I think gold is a much more favorable thing than silver, because we don't know what will be the industrial outlook. But one thing which we are certain about is uncertainty. So I think always keep yourself diverse with commodities.
Yeah, with commodities especially, I think. I think we'll have a business update right now, और उसके बाद आपसे पूछेंगे about the IPO of Lucid Motors electric vehicles के बारे में. We will learn more right now.
Talk 100.3 Business
अपडेट के बाद ना बिजनेस हर घंटे आपको देते हैं. इस घंटे का न्यूज बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग है. द मेकर ऑफ नोकिया ब्रांडेड फोन्स ने नए डिवाइसेस लॉन्च किए, इंक्लूडिंग अ मिलिट्री ग्रेड स्मार्टफोन डिजाइन टू विथस्टैंड इंटेंस एनवायरमेंटल कंडीशंस. Now HMD Global ने कहा the Nokia XR20 is the most durable phone it created to date. The XR20 has a tough 6.67-inch Gorilla Glass, and it can resist damage from scratches and drops from about 6 feet. Now this in the mobile industry is known as a rugged phone. a niche category in the market, and it's targeted mainly at extreme sports enthusiasts and manual laborers. Now, HMD ने कहा, it hopes the Nokia XR20 caters to a more mainstream audience, और ये फीचर सूट करता है Nokia ब्रांड के लिए क्योंकि they were famous for their durability. Now, according to HMD, the Nokia XR20 can be submerged in water for up to an hour and endure extreme temperature. Nokia XR20 starts at a price of £399 in UK and $549.99 in US from August 24. Now, to give you a little idea about HMD, it was formed by former Nokia executives in 2016 who bought the firm's mobile unit back from Microsoft in a $350 million deal. It is financially backed by Nokia as well as other industry players including Google and Qualcomm. So Nokia had a market share of just 0.6% in 2020. बिजनेस न्यूज अब आपको देंगे अगले दिन यानी कल देंगे, बट राइट नाउ हमारे साथ योगेश है ऑन टॉक मार्केट्स.
Waking you up to the UAE's conversation. Talk Breakfast with Vivek Sunil and Sobia Khan on Talk 100.3.
Thank you very much, Vivek, for business update and further getting deeper into talk markets powered by Century Financials. योगेश in the house और बातचीत का सिलसिला आगे बढ़ाते हैं, जिस पे हम बात करेंगे वो है IPO of Lucid Motors. That's what you said, Vivek, right?
Yes, Yogesh, Lucid Motors sounds exciting, interesting. आगे
So this is one thing which happened, and I think EV space is something which is mostly known when we talk about Tesla. And investors, a lot of investors in the past, and I talk to a lot of clients, and they're like, Tesla nahi kharidna.
Nahi kharidna.
Yeah,
Achha.
what if I don't want to do? Because there is always a FOMO, right? Like, do I enter now, or is it already overvalued? Or sometimes they're like, what other than Tesla? Because there are now EV space is getting a lot of competition. This is for those investors who find Tesla a bit more expensive, because I'm sure right now the common question for everyone is, okay, if a Tesla stock is $700 per share, what if I don't have $700?
Okay.
Right? What if I don't have if I want to buy 10 stocks and it's equivalent to $7,000?
$7,000
What if I don't
okay.
have $7,000? How can I be a part of EV space? So that's where you have to start asking yourself questions that which are other companies in the same space planning to grow.
And you were talking about this Monday ko, if I'm not wrong. Yeah.
So Lucid Motors is one of those things. It got listed now, and it got listed through a SPAC. They have been trying a lot of times in the past, and finally they have got funding. And it has gone through a SPAC. So we were talking about SPAC mergers a lot.
Yes.
And if you see now also Churchill Capital 4, they have been the SPAC for this particular company. And I think the kind of valuation which you are seeing right now, from 4 billion to 24 billion, this is when Tesla got listed, it was 300 million.
Okay.
So
nothing.
Yeah, and right now the kind of money you see in this company, their EV technology is very much in-house, which kind of gives them an edge.
Yeah. So this is the kind of funding they received, you're saying, and now they're going to be listed, of course, because of SPAC.
Yeah.
And already कुछ ऐसे speculations है कि at what price their IPO will start.
So it already started. It went up by 10%. I think it started at $25 and it went to $29 per share. So it was already up. But then this is something which investors can see from a longer term perspective, so given EV space is still a very growing area.
So this is one example, one way of looking at things, and how you can check out other companies as well in the same industry,
exactly,
which show promise.
Yeah, because sector-wise, EV sector is promising. We are talking about something which is related to environment. So don't restrict yourself if you feel, oh, Tesla is a $700 stock. If I want to buy 10 shares, I don't have $7,000. How I'm going to do it? And you don't want to take leverage through these platforms, because it can be very risky for your portfolio. So I'm talking about a student who has just gathered some money. If he wants to buy, if he has like $300, $400, where to put in? And if he wants to invest into EV space, how to do it? So yes, these are the companies. I mean, there is Mercedes-Benz, there is Toyota, which is working on developing their electric vehicle.
Okay.
So try to look into other players also in the same sector, but be a part of the sector, and that's all I'm saying.
I think brilliant advice hai ye. The brilliant perspective hai to look at things. And really thank you for this. I think traffic update hum kuch hi pal mein denge, but if you have any questions, you can always ask us 0586861003 या phone कर सकते हैं 0458170080. हमारे साथ योगेश खैरजानी from Century Financial. This hour is Talk Markets thanks to Century Financial Investment Consultancy Research.
And great to have you after the break. It's the final hour. It's called Talk Markets, brought to you by Century Financial. Yogesh already in the house. आज सुना है कि it's going to be the hottest day so far because 50 degrees hit करेगा. लेकिन यहाँ पर we've got hottest topic जिसके ऊपर हम बात कर रहे हैं, discuss कर रहे हैं. So Yogesh, welcome back once again, and let's continue.
Want to know about earnings because I think वो काफी reports आने वाले हैं Facebook के earnings and all the big companies के earnings.
So I think earnings is one of the best times to trade in stocks.
Okay.
Anyone who wants to know when should I actually speculate or buy, sell shares, earnings are one of the best times because if the earnings come bad, we see stocks going down, which kind of gives you a buying opportunity for the future. If it goes really well and if you are already in, if you have already bought the stock, then you will see the stock prices rising. Something can be really good for your portfolio. The best of the returns can be seen during the earnings season because the stock moves a lot, right? So entire year, April, July, October, then December, January, we'll see earnings specifically. And July to August, these 2 months, we'll see a lot of companies coming up with.
Okay.
Yesterday there was Apple, Microsoft. Before that there was Tesla. Today there is going to be Facebook. There's going to be Boeing, Boston Scientific, Shopify, PayPal, and all these companies. Again, if the earnings come, like Facebook, we have seen in the past has been going higher and higher. So anybody who has a Facebook stock in their portfolio should closely watch out today because after the earnings, if it matches the Wall Street estimates or beats it, and if the forward outlook is good, then probably the stock might rally, and if it doesn't, then again you might still have to check on your portfolio because it might drop if the earnings are not good.
But
perhaps somebody mentioned something about Snapchat, then it might move up and down.
So
but this happens. I mean, the earnings जो estimates के साथ होते हैं, I mean, it does fluctuate at times because
it does. So there is something called earning surprise, and you will see a lot of such companies. Tesla, for example, has shown. I keep saying Tesla again and again because it fits into
recently
everything.
आया ना,
Yeah. So what happens if you see their earning surprise? What Wall Street expects, and see Apple, for example, earning surprise is way big. What Wall Street expected, or look at Microsoft, Wall Street expected, and what they delivered is completely different on the higher side. So yes, I mean, earning surprises lead to a lot of movement in the stocks, and I think an investor should closely watch and keep appropriate risk thresholds when the earnings come into.
And when we talk about earnings, I mean, does it mean कि जिनके पास भी है shares, उनको dividends या they can expect some good returns at that moment?
So,
of course, when
dividends is not something which comes on the day of earnings, but dividends depend on how the company delivers it. It's every quarter. It depends again if the company is giving every quarter or 2 times. Normally, most of the Indian companies they declare it 2 times in a year. US does it every quarter. But every dividend will have an X dividend date. If you're holding that stock till X dividend date, you're eligible to get the dividend for that coming quarter. But if you have bought the stock past the X dividend date, then you will not get dividend for that quarter. You will maybe eligible for the other quarter if you hold on to that stock for that matter. So earnings season is more about looking at the report card of a company.
Okay.
Because I'm a publicly listed company, I've taken money from people. People have the right to know that how were my last 3 months.
बराबर.
So I will come up with my report card, tell you that whatever money you have invested, on every share I have made this much earning, and if you compare this earning with my past quarter and the same quarter past year, you will know how my performance is.
And it's always been good because pandemic के साथ ही compare होगा, right?
Right now, perhaps. But again, there are companies which have not done well. So, but then obviously a lot of thought goes into it, because you compare your earnings same quarter last year, you compare your earnings this quarter and previous quarter. So you have to see both the kinds of growth and again the future outlook.
And of course 2-3 years का भी I think होता है ना, but perform better than 2018 or perform better than 2000. So then you know कि क्या impact है.
It's a very good point. Something you can use as a data to create a price action.
Okay.
Like for example, this is say if this is second quarter.
Okay.
Now this is 2021. Just look at last 10 years of the second quarter. That how the stock has moved after the earnings have come. Forget about good earnings or bad earnings.
Okay.
But just look into it that in last 10 years, second quarter, when the earnings come and a day after, what is the movement in the stock? You might find a pattern, something called price action analysis, which is a kind of strategy which, if you come to us, we'll explain you how to do it, because this is something which is extensive data you can easily harvest through a lot of sites, and we kind of do it for you. So that is again a strategy based investment which you can do specifically during the earnings season.
Superb. I mean, there are so many things जो आपको जानने मिलेगा, because Yogesh, you also were talking about having a webinar कुछ ही दिनों में, is it, or when is it starting?
So it will possibly be happening on 15th of August starting.
Okay.
And this is something what we call as Investor Education Week.
Okay. I thought financial independence.
Not the right term to say again. But yeah, we'll make it more of an Investor Education Week where, see, that's the idea, to make you independent, but independent to make your own investment decision. Like you can be independent. You're never alone. We're always there with you, but you're still independent. So it's one of those things where you see that Investor Education Week spreads for 5 days. And from day one, and it's a webinar, you don't have to come to the office, obviously, because, since given the pandemic and everything. So we try to come to you through a webinar, and every day for 1.5 hours, I start right from the scratch that why do you even invest?
Okay.
Why don't just keep your money under the pillow and, save it? And then we tell you about inflation. We tell you about what are the asset classes available from anyone who has no idea about investments, anyone who gets scared of looking at the stock prices or at business channels. This is for you.
Okay.
You start from day one, and by 5th day, I'm sure you'd get to know about fundamental analysis, earning per shares, earning seasons, technical analysis, charts, patterns, short selling, risk management, portfolio diversification, and it's free of cost.
Okay.
So given the fact all you have to devote is just your time, and the idea is just to spread more and more awareness and make you more independent.
So you think by the end of the day they will be confident enough to go ahead by themselves, or they would run to you?
They will be confident enough to know whether this is for them or not.
Acha.
That's the problem.
Self-awareness.
That's the problem what we face, that sometimes investors, they just see the frenzy of how cryptos are there, right? Everybody's doing it, or let's do it. But do you really know what it is? So by the end of this session, I'm not saying that you invest with me and you start with me and, I'll take you further. The whole thing is, at least you get to know where do you stand and whether you really want to do this or not. And if you really want to do this, then we are there to, help you out and assist you in it. But before that, 5 days, no commitments, just give your time, that's all.
How many hours is it going to be every day?
It's 1 hour every day.
1 hour
that's
max.
It. Just find out 1 hour maximum.
Sham ke time hoga, and how do they get to know about it? Matlab,
so,
century.ae?
Yeah, you can go to century.ae. We are still making a landing page for it for the registrations, and it will be ready very soon. And definitely they can go to our websites, talk to our people, and we'll definitely guide them whenever it is. And it is in the evening, so once you finish your work, you come home. It will be between 7 to 8. So I want to make sure that since this is your me time, I want to make sure it's worth it.
नींद भी ना आए और you're not too tired.
नी से जो है वो मोह में बदल जाए, यानी money बन जाए. This is fantastic, and I think Century Financial has been doing it throughout.
We have been doing this from a very long period of time. I remember we used to do it in our office, and every day, and it started with 2 people. I did this session for 2 people.
Okay.
who continue to come every day. That's what kept me motivated.
Okay.
That after so many people, there are at least my first session, I had 2 people
Uh-huh.
coming every day,
Uh-huh.
which kept me motivated. That okay, there are 2 people who are willing to come every day 1 hour
Imagine,
just to
yeah.
understand this.
Yeah.
And then we continued. 2 became 20, 20 became 40.
Acha.
And then pandemic happened, so we had to reduce the space. But good thing is, through a webinar, we don't have restriction on the seating. Everybody and everyone is there, and now the total count and number of attendees is really amazing.
Unlimited, na?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, unlimited. Before we go, actually, Syed का एक ऐसा message आया कि how about investing in Tata Motors or Rolex Ring IPO, or any advice on Indian company to invest now on long-term investment?
So I think there were a few Indian companies when I was looking at today, but I think normally for the shorter period of time, I think there are some of the recommendations by different people. Infosys for day trade, CIAT is there, NIIT is there. I think Bombay Burma Trading Corporation is there. Mostly from a day trading perspective. But yeah, I mean, looking at the IPOs, we definitely have to see its valuation and do a bit more research before we get back.
Superb. So I think हमारे जाने का टाइम हो जाएगा. Another 2 minutes.
बिल्कुल. एंड आई थिंक कि अगर आपके यहाँ कोई ऐसा ट्रेंड होता तो इतने हफ्तों में हमें भी एक सर्टिफिकेट मिल जाना चाहिए था कि हम भी प्रिटेंड कर सकते हैं कि हम फाइनेंशियल एडवाइजर्स
और एटलीस्ट अ बिगिनर लेवल जो है हमने मतलब अचीव किया है कि ऑफ अंडरस्टैंडिंग द एंटायर फाइनेंशियल इंडस्ट्री.
So the best part is that anyone who's patient enough to listen to a talk for 1 hour is already achieving this thing. I mean, everybody should be, and this is to listeners everywhere, they should be so proud if they're listening this for 1 hour, taking time out of their day, because this is just a normal market commentary. I mean, what I'm saying, everybody can Google and just find out. But then why me?
नहीं, पढ़ना अलग है, समझाना अलग है.
और इसके अलावा there is one very important point, because there's a lot of trash online as well. So we bring it all together, the important happenings.
Exactly.
And of course, then you passing on your expert comments. Of course, reminding all the time that nothing is safe.
Absolutely. I think, again, before we leave, I think the biggest risk you can find in investing is the risk of not investing your money. So always remember this. Because
Okay.
if you invest, you might make money, you might lose. But if you don't invest, you're definitely losing.
Not making money.
Definitely,
Correct. Yeah.
Excellent. On that note, of course, thanking you, Yogesh, like always, coming all the way from Century Financial, and of course, Talk Markets, powered by Century Financial. ये सारी business से related news हम आपके लिए लेकर आते हैं. What a fantastic and lovely show today. Of course, so much of encouragement when it comes to the feedback. Thank you. If you're still listening, of course, हमारे जो सुनने वाले हैं वो आते जाते रहते हैं, लेकिन आते जाते रहिए, यही अच्छी बात है. सुबह 7 से 11, 7 to 11, and also reminding you that कल भी आपके लिए Talk Markets आएगा, which is brought to you by Century Financials. लेकिन Talk Back कब आएगा? Well, वो थोड़ी घंटों में आने वाला है. वो 4 बजे आपके लिए शुरू हो जाएगा, और अनजान और उनकी टीम, मानसी हैं, रितिका हैं, वो आज आपके लिए बहुत ही इंटरेस्टिंग शो तो लेकर आएंगे. लेकिन उसमें आपने जो सुनना है वो है 6 to 7, मिस नहीं करना. सोशल मीडिया इन्फ्लुएंसर रोमन खान होंगे. मिलियन से भी ज्यादा इनके फॉलोअर्स हैं टिकटॉक पे, एंड दे आर गोना गिव अस गोल्डन एडवाइस. जैसे यहाँ योगेश हमें बहुत सारी चीज़ें बताते हैं, तो वो रोमन खान बताएंगे कि किस तरह आप अपने जो फॉलोअर्स की लिस्ट है उसको, एक तरीका होता है ऐसे करके बढ़ा लेना, एक होता है कि उसके ऊपर मेहनत करना. तो वो सारे टिप्स आपको देने वाले हैं 6 to 7 इन टॉक बैक. एंड इसके अलावा डॉक्टर फजीला, फैंटास्टिक, काशिफ खालिद हमारे साथ जुड़े. अगेन समथिंग वी आर वेरी हैप्पी अबाउट, एंड दैट्स व्हाट वी एम फॉर व्हेन इट कम्स टू टॉक ब्रेकफास्ट. थैंक यू सो मच फॉर जॉइनिंग अस. थैंकिंग टॉक ब्रेकफास्ट टीम, लैकलन किच, प्रणव प्रसन्ना, एंड लवली को होस्ट विवेक सनेल. इस वक्त बहुत ही सीरियस हो चुके हैं. आप इसी तरह हंसते रहिए, अपना ख्याल रखिए. एंड फ्रॉम सोबिया खान, अल्लाह ने के पान.
This is Talk 100.3, the home of the